I'd like to call the Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order on Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022. It is 9:02 a.m., and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Clerk Treasurer Parthoon.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Public comments. I do not have any public comment cards from the public. Anything social media?
Not yet.
Is there anybody from the public that is here to speak that forgot to fill out a card? Okay, we will move forward. Clerk Treasurer Parthoon, claims approval.
Okay, we have fire special pay for attendance in the amount of $2,130.45.
I move we approve the fire pay.
Second.
Motion
I'm
and a
sorry.
second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
We have payroll in the amount of $442,527.09.
I move we approve the payroll.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
We have civil city claims in the amount of $1,069,379.34, which includes annual software licensing for our accounting services, February's health insurance, several CDBG grant payouts, salt for roads, ice rink, risk management software, Porte, and then you'll see a claim on there for another CDBG lead remediation project.
I move we approve the civil city claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
We have sewage claims in the amount of $305,504.61.
I move we approve the sewage claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. It's good to see sewage getting back under control after the last one.
Those darn bond payments, huh, Jerry? And then finally, water claims in the amount of $148,792.22. 148,792.22.
I move we approve the water claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Clerk Treasurer Parthoon. As we've talked probably for 3 years now, we are committed to public safety and having the best team to keep our community safe. And we're excited today. We will begin with Chief Breton. We have 4 new officers, and I believe this team here of new officers is going to be a fantastic addition to our department. So with no further ado, Chief Breton.
I think at first I'm gonna swear in a reserve officer and kind of explain a little bit what this entails. Several months ago, fire and police give each other a hard time all the time, but Andy heard we were gonna start ERT team, and he brought up, would you guys like a medic? And that's the most important thing, is having a medic, not only for our officers, but also for the people around us, have somebody with us. He brought up Anthony Ring's name. He came to us with this long list of accomplishments. I'll let you go into that when you come up. But I'd like to swear him in as a reserve, and hopefully we'll bring him over to our side eventually. Raise your right hand. I state your name. do solemnly swear that I will,
solemnly swear that I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect,
and
defend the laws and Constitution
defend the laws and Constitution
of the state of Indiana,
of the state of Indiana,
and I will,
and I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
faithfully execute
faithfully execute
the position of Reserve Police Officer
the position of Reserve Police Officer
for the city of LaPorte,
for the city of LaPorte,
Indiana, so help me God.
Indiana, so help me God.
Congratulations. In there on the fire. That's okay.
Sorry.
No, if you want to get a little bit of your background, I think it's pretty impressive.
I heard that you're teaching starting. I'm excited to be part of that. In the Army for 10 years as a medic and infantry, so I have some experience and get to kick down some doors and put the guns.
And carry the gun. He'll be on the range with us, so he's going to be your equal there.
Welcome and thank you.
Thank you. And also, like the mayor said, we've been trying to get our public safety team built back up. We have 4 individuals, I'd like to call you guys up now. All outstanding, solid individuals. Every one of these new officers has a background in public safety. Dalton's dad and I worked together on the streets when we both didn't have gray hair, correct? Patrick Quayle's been a reserve officer how many years? 5. Peter Pieta, your father was on Chicago PD and your brother's here representing Chicago PD. And your dad, Alex, your dad, or stepdad, right? Sheriff's Department. And we were together as well. So I told them they have to speak a little bit about themselves after swearing in. So raise your right hand, gentlemen. I state your name.
I, Dalton L. Quayle,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will, to the best of my ability,
that I will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect,
protect,
and defend the laws
and defend the laws
and Constitution of the state of Indiana.
and Constitution of the state of Indiana,
And I will,
and I will,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
faithfully execute
faithfully execute
the position of police officer
the position of police officer
for the city of LaPorte, Indiana.
for the city of LaPorte, Indiana.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
So gentlemen, if you want to go one by one, tell the public a little bit about yourself. We're excited to have you. We expect you to retire here, so welcome to day one. So go ahead.
My name is Dalton Flyover. I grew up here in LaPorte, just over, kind of behind Fitness Plus. I went to New Prairie, so go Cougars.
Go Cougars.
But I grew up in this town, and so I have a passion for helping and protecting people, and why not put forth my efforts where I grew up.
My name is Patrick Quayle. I've been a resident of LaPorte for about 7 years now. As the chief stated earlier, I've been a reserve policeman with the department for about 5 years. It's always been a lifelong dream of mine to become a police officer, and decided to kick it up from reserve to full-time, and I'll make the city proud.
My name is Ymca. I've split a lot of time between the city of Chicago and LaPorte, Indiana. Grew up here when I was younger. It's always been a place I looked at as home. That's why I moved back here about 8 years ago. It's been a complete honor to live here in and of itself. Spend time in the school system, spend time in the community. So I'm looking to give back to the community that gave so much to me when I was a child.
Alex Mendoza, grew up in LaPorte, always had a dream of leaving Indiana, but in the Army soon after high school, did time in Colorado and Korea, and then got home and decided to continue that civil service in my hometown, and I appreciate this opportunity.
So we're going to take photo, Board of Works, we're excited about this, and then we're gonna take a minute so they can have a photo with their family, if they'd like to, so. Get up here, Mike. Just come on to the center stage. Chief? Do you want Bill up here too?
Sure. Bill?
Anybody else?
Yeah, get all of them that's here. That'd be a cool picture.
Get all the officers.
Snuck out already?
Yeah, you wanna get all these?
Get all your guys in there.
Can't imagine Chicago.
Oh my gosh. Especially nowadays.
Well, does anybody want family
Yeah,
or?
families?
Please take a minute. This is a special day. Take your minute to family.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sooner rather than later.
You're ready, go ahead.
You're gonna have to push it again.
They're not, this is just gonna be just a dusting right now. Tomorrow it's supposed to be less than an inch during the day and maybe 1 to 3 in the night.
I guess I just happened to notice it. It seemed like you've had a lot more of the guys like not the plows, but the backhoes getting the snow off the streets too. That
Because, well, they changed it and now they're stacking it up on Ymca Road instead of pushing it off to the corner.
yeah,
Which is better for the businesses.
Right.
So I don't spend more time doing that.
yeah.
And we've got more snow this year than we had in
Yeah.
the past and that's.
Has that been interesting to kind of learn about in that?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's just like, that's one part of it. And then we had the guy that decided to drive up on the railroad tracks the wrong way in Linwood.
Right.
So then you go look at it and there's no barricades or anything like that. They got barricades out, so they can't drive up there.
Yeah.
Just so much stuff that you don't even know about it.
Right. It sounds like Norfolk's got trains stopped again today.
They did. There was ones yesterday when I would.
I said at the council meeting last night, Goshen, I was in Goshen Monday, and same thing, and it's the other side of that, they're on the other side of that intermodal milk cart, and apparently it's jammed backed up or something, but I mean, that, it almost seems like it completely splits the downtown, like, nobody could get through anywhere.
See, and how can they do that? I would think somebody could be held liable if something happens.
Like mow the lawn right now.
Go.
No, I was on snowmobile and he calls me and says, I'm done. I go, what are you done? I quit the academy. I said, where are you at? I'm in the parking lot. I said, turn around and just back in. No, I signed the paperwork. Said I'm not ready. Second time I quit. He had a lot of
You can't sell those.
And like any outlet, if we try telling, they can't touch you, they're gonna yell at you, they're gonna do this, they're gonna do that. They don't like working out, I guess.
No, it's not.
You're not ready for that, you're not. And that's why I said, you can't make a drill instructor yell at you, he's talking to people like your garbage. His mom. Oh, his mom. You're gonna swear in, you're gonna work your hard, 3 weeks.
And it's budgeted.
Dalton goes to Iowa.
To basically give you the
Chief, do you want to do one? Before you guys leave, with the mayor commissioner. Frank, Alec, Wally, Dalton.
Yeah. I've had it happen once.
Well, Patrick. Oh, Mayor being a
All right, squeeze together for me. 1, 2, 3.
All right, go out and run 5 miles. Thank you.
Well, that's a good way to start the day, Mayor.
That's a great way to start the day.
Let's do that more often.
So before we move to department heads, and by the way, everybody anybody related to somebody that was sworn in, don't feel the need. We respect your time and go ahead and move on to doing whatever you need to do. Have a great rest of the day.
Meetings can be kind of fun, though. Might have skipped the.
I am going to move to parking ticket appeals so we can allow people to move on.
Oh, that'll get them out of the room.
Is Mr. Heinen available? Joseph Heinen.
Nobody's here for the appeals.
Okay.
Do they need to be?
So the first appeal, which is number 61981, he lives at the Rumley. He noted the mayor's emergency parking order, but he was told by the Rumley that he couldn't obey that he had to park in a different place, and he received a ticket. So he came over the next day and filled this out in detail, and there was just some confusion about where he was supposed to park that day. He was quite upset about receiving a ticket when he was trying to obey all the rules and was given 2 different directives.
I'd say that's officer error. If he was supposed to be parked on the,
Well,
it was for the snow emergency?
I don't believe that was an officer error. I believe it was his error, but the
Oh.
Rumley, the mayor's order was saying one thing and the Rumley was telling him another. And so he did what the Rumley told him to do, and he got a ticket, and he's very upset.
Chief, are you comfortable if I mean, I know the Rumley sometimes.
Right. No, I'm,
So do I have a motion to?
Which one are you, sir? Okay.
What's the proper,
I guess motion to waive the fine.
to waive the fine?
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second discussion.
Maybe in the future, we could just have a direct conversation then with the Rumley about or send out a memo or something to them so that they can communicate accurately.
The difficulty is that these emergencies happen fast, and there's always just some confusion about exactly how to do it, but we need them so that the street department can properly clear
Is
the
it
roads.
always the same?
Yes,
The order is always the same
Well, it
for one
depends if
side
it's
of the
an
street
odd
or
or
the
even,
other?
but-
right.
Day?
Yeah,
But the
it depends.
order is always
the-
is worded in the same manner. Is that what you?
Okay,
Yes.
so we just need to recommunicate that with them
Jeff,
so that
and-
they're aware.
but I do want to say, this won't happen again, so. have
No, he was
Claire-
very
I think we're-
adamant that, you
Okay.
know,
But also one of the things that we're looking at is kind of rechanging it and doing away with kind of how the snow emergency comes across. We have to acknowledge it every time and get the mayor to sign off on it. So if we get a couple inches of snow, it can go into effect. And then downstairs where the restricted parking is, maybe change it so that it's odd and even all the time. So that there's, you park on one side or the other all the time. So it's,
Okay.
so then it's more easy to understand what's going on.
Okay.
We tried to do this, but the traffic commission has been opposed.
But they're,
Correct?
Oh,
we've got more
Redo the entire thing and make it
liberty now, so.
okay. Sounds like we're on a way to make it simpler to understand.
Yeah,
Great.
we're in the process of coming up with a plan that's probably going to be very workable.
Good. So I do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of waiving this ticket, state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes 3-0.
okay, the next ticket is number 61488, and that gentleman is here. My understanding is he received a ticket and that he came in and paid the ticket. Well, you can come up and,
Welcome, Mr. Maynard. If you could state your name and address for the record.
My name is Ronald Maynard. I live at 800 Michigan Ave, apartment 402, across the street. I moved in back on June 1st, and I think it was on the 2nd or 3rd. Well, the next day after I moved in, I come downstairs the next morning to go get more stuff, and there's a ticket on my car. Well, I turned around, it was either that day or the next day. I went and wrote a check, put it in the envelope, brought it across the street here to pay for it. My understanding, Leslie was the meter maid, or I don't know what you want to call her. She asked me, she said, well, what do you got? And I said, a ticket. She goes, how'd you get it? And I explained to her. I said, well, I just moved in, and after I moved in, I was putting stuff away, fell asleep, got up next morning, there's a ticket on the car. I didn't know about the signs. She said, I'll take care of it. She opened it up, gave me back my check. Now, this is June of last year, June 1st, and I just got a letter a week ago saying I owed $60 for that ticket. It was my understanding, she said she was gonna take care of it. Now, since then, I come over here the other day, and they told me she didn't have the authority. I don't know this. She just told me she would take care of it. And now all of a sudden, I got a ticket for $60. Over a $25 ticket, she said she would take care of. Now, I come in here last week, and I explained it to a few people, and I says, well, is there any way you can get a hold of this girl so she can vouch for it or whatever? She go, well, no, we can't get a hold of her. Well, someone's got to have a record of a phone number here. It was hired by the city, am I correct?
Well, that individual no longer works here,
I
so
understand that, but I'm getting nailed for this, and it wasn't my fault.
So could you explain again, so I'm clear, you had a check in an envelope?
Yes.
And
And I
you were-
brought it across the street, and she was starting to come in the building. She asked me, she says, what, do you got, a ticket? I go, yeah. She said, well, how'd you get a ticket? And I explained to her, I just moved in, and I come down the next morning, there's a ticket on my car. She said, well, I'll take care of that for you. She opened it up and handed me back my check. And I've got the check number written down in my checkbook here where I marked it void after she gave it back.
Okay, do I have a motion to waive?
Yes, so moved.
Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
no,
Mr. Frank Sheeve.
let's see, that one
Who's in the hospital?
is, he is not here. He came the day after he received this ticket, and he still had his hospital bracelet on, so he was in the hospital when he received this ticket. He was unable to move his car because he had just got out of the hospital and the ticket was on his car.
Do I have a motion to waive?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. But I would like to remind everybody, for the public, when we put a snowstorm warning in, please follow the rules. They are pretty simple, easy to follow. And I think we should probably look at doing something where we're not taking cash any longer, checks, and do everything via credit card. And I think, like everything else, that way we can track everything. So we will get with Chief and Courtney and talk about that. Thank you, Annette.
What are you doing next?
While you're here, if you want to go ahead and move forward.
So I have a request for signature. It's a 4th of July flyover request. We do it every year. Whoever is sponsoring the 4th of July each year makes a request to the military for a flyover, and this is the paperwork. We just need the mayor to sign it.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Just, could we check off like the Blue Angels and the Golden Knights and the Thunderbirds?
We check everything.
Just check them all off? And
We ask for
what are
whatever
the
we
chances?
can get.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Then the next two are requests for use for the YMCA Triathlon and the Tour de La Porte. Both are, later this year. The triathlon is June 11th, and the Tour de La Porte is in August 27th. And they're making their annual request to use our streets.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'm on the Y board. Do you want me to abstain or not?
Yes. Member Romine will abstain. I will second that. Chiefs, any concern?
None.
Streets, Mr. Batchelor?
These are great events for LaPorte.
Fantastic events.
You're doing the triathlon, right, Mayor?
I'm sure I'm looking at Mr. Jackson to do both of these to represent the city.
I'll do a bike leg.
Further discussion?
Going to board a public works team.
Didn't your
Yeah,
daughter
I'm all
do a
for it.
swim leg?
Oh, man.
I
All right.
remember that.
All right, we will move forward. All those in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 2-0. Member Romine abstains.
Thank you.
Great. Nick Otis, since we have other members here from the public that we're excited about Habitat for Humanity, do you mind just allowing them to get on their way?
Sure. Before you, you have a quitclaim deed from the city to Habitat for Humanity, and the city acquired this property through the LaPorte County tax sale. Nobody purchased or redeemed the property, and the city accepted this vacant property. Habitat for Humanity owns the parcel adjacent to this. We went through the legal process to transfer this to Habitat for Humanity. So I'd ask Mr. Batchelor and I have worked on this request that be transferred to Habitat. I guess the motion would be for the mayor to execute all necessary documents for the transfer.
I work with Habitat, so I'm going to abstain again.
So we will have Member Romine abstaining. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I will second that. Discussion?
I know they're here today. If they wanted to briefly discuss what they were going to do, I think they addressed it at the last meeting.
Yes. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 2-0. But if they don't mind stepping up and maybe speaking while we have them about the opportunity at Tidma Bakery.
Morning. Hey,
Good
Sophie.
morning.
Hi.
You got one coming, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are we
Oh,
talking
I
about
guess-
Tim? No,
I
this
didn't
is,
realize that. I
there's
missed
two.
that.
Two different things.
So if
This
we
is,
start
so this
Craig
is regarding,
Phillips?
is this regarding Home Street or?
This is Home Street.
So first is Home Street,
Yeah,
Right.
yep.
just so we're not confused.
Let me have Craig mention something first.
Okay, well, all right, so the item that's farther down the agenda, I'm pleased to note that we've been working with Habitat for Humanity and have developed a development agreement for 5 homes, a minimum of 5 homes, to be developed on that property for affordable housing as a step towards the mayor's 30 by 30 initiative. Very pleased that we were able to come to this agreement with Habitat. You have information in your packets that shows a concept plan for the layout, proposed layout of the site, showing the 5 units that they intend to build. Their locations are not exact, that could be subject to actual site approvals on each site. In addition to some concepts of what those homes could look like, the type of homes, the styles of homes that could be built on those properties. So we're excited about this. We feel it's going to be a good fit for the neighborhood. And want to thank Sophia Coleman and her and Jeff Hilb and the rest of the board and staff on the work that they did with us on this, and looking to get them started.
Yeah.
Sophia, if you want to state your name and address for the record and tell us a little bit about the development, because we are very excited.
We are too. Sophia Coleman, 7 Muirfield Drive, Michigan City, Indiana. And I'm the Executive Director of LaPorte Habitat. We build homes, affordable homes for people in need of decent housing. And we're absolutely over the moon to be able to partner with the city and take this project forward, because it's going to be a really great thing for that neighborhood.
The houses look, I love some of the ideas and the designs. They look really.
Yeah, and the homeowners will be part of the process of choosing the inside of their homes and possibly the outside colors and that sort of thing. So it's going to be really good for everyone, for the whole community. It will be a really great uplift for that area.
And when will that start, do you think?
So we're going to start this summer. We're in the process of applying for federal funds, which will subsidize the housing. And we're also working with the Healthcare Foundation to boost our funds more. And yeah, we have many people contributing to the project. So it's going to be a really big effort from people in Michigan City and LaPorte. Bring the communities together.
Unless it stops snowing, then Jeff will be out shoveling
Jeff
tomorrow.
will be out shoveling as much as he can. He does have a bit of rheumatism, so it might be a problem, but I'm sure he'll be there. He will be there. He's here.
Well, we couldn't ask for a better partnership with Habitat, and I think is an opportunity for the community to be involved.
It will be.
Volunteering their time, and we'd sure love to help you generate that interest.
I will put that on the record, that you are going to be helping with the build too.
Yes.
All of you.
I am a grunt.
And you lot too.
But I think we can get a lot of community members. Do you mind, just for the record as well, share your team that's here today?
So Jeff Hill, president of Habitat for Humanity, LaPorte County, and Brian Coleman, who's also on the board. And he's heading the construction committee. Well, they're both on the construction committee.
And let's give them a round of applause. One of the questions I'll ask you that we are asked every time we use the term affordable,
Yeah.
what does affordable mean? And we say, no more than 30% of an annual income. How do you view affordable? What's your definition?
The median income in LaPorte County is $66,000 approximately, and we're serving people who fit within 30 to 60% of that income. So they currently are paying up to 50% of their income on housing, and we want to allow them to pay below 30%.
So how, with that, and I know there's like sweat equity that goes into it, right? They have
Correct,
to participate in building the
Yeah.
home. So then how does that work with, once the home's ready, they move in, is there just a payment plan that's very affordable given those incomes?
There is. So Habitat has a unique model. The homeowner is required to do sweat equity, which is putting time into their home, which helps build it and keep the costs low. And then we originate the mortgage and hold that ourselves. And then it's a 0% interest mortgage, which is spread over between 25 to 30 years. And those payments are steady and low over the whole period of their mortgage, so they never change. And then we help them service the mortgages too. So in most cases, we work with the homeowners if they have a problem with payment or with their income. So it really is a whole kind of a system that works for us and for them. And then those repayments on their mortgages come back to Habitat, and we use that money to build more homes.
And so the mortgage, 0% is fantastic,
Yes.
right? I imagine that the mortgage amount, because of all the contributions and the help, is much lower than it would be had someone built that home.
Right. So
right.
we build the home with the community, and so the cost of the build is very low, and the homeowner pays the actual cost. We make no profit on the home, and the home is appraised, and there's often a difference between the cost of the home, and there will be a huge difference now with the way that the market's gone. So that difference is a second mortgage, which we again hold, which is never made, payments are never made, but that's held as a lien against the house. And so the homeowner cannot sell the home for a number of years unless they pay off that lien as well.
Gotcha, okay.
And please remind them with Mr. Batchelor here, code enforcement is an expectation after the home is built to keep the home
He will be invited.
in good shape.
Of course.
For the homeowners. But this is an exciting time, and we're excited for that.
Mayor, just one more thing. I forgot to mention the schedule. So as Sophia mentioned, they intend to start the first home this year, and they've committed to 2 more homes in 2023 and 2 more homes in 2024 on the site. So that's the schedule to be expected. And the city had previously set aside funds to assist with installation of the sidewalks on the site. So it truly is a partnership between Habitat and the city.
Well, this is only the beginning of what we see as further opportunity in the city of LaPorte to keep you busy here. So
We look
whatever you
forward to
need
it.
from us, you let us know.
Take the challenge.
Further discussion? I do have a motion and a second, correct?
I don't think there was a motion.
Do I?
For TIDMA, there was not.
We need, did you vote on?
They started on.
Mayor, you jumped around there on us, all right? So,
We did, right?
So,
Motion and a second on the quick.
on the quick,
For Home Street.
correct,
For
There's
Home
2
Street.
quitclaim deeds.
right.
so we do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 2-0. We have member Romine abstaining.
And that was on the Home Street, correct?
Now we have a motion for Ymca Bakery. Do we have one?
So moved, yeah, for Tim.
I will second that. Member Romine will abstain. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 2-0. Member Romine abstains. Thank you.
And the quitclaim deed for this as well, do we need to do a separate motion on that? For TIDMA?
Yes.
So do we have a motion for a quitclaim deed?
So moved on the quitclaim deed for Tim Bakery.
I will second that. Member Romine will abstain. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Sorry.
Motion passes 2-0. Member Romine will abstain. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. So you're welcome as well to leave if you have other grounds to find in the city of LaPorte to build in the future. With that, we'll begin with department heads. Beth West, Transport.
Beth here? I feel like I haven't seen Beth in person in a long time.
Oh, she's always here.
Not a whole lot to report. I just wanted to thank the public for working with us during the past couple snowstorms. We did have to shut down early for the safety of our drivers, along with, I had drivers that were stuck out in the county and couldn't make it in, so we were extremely short-handed. So I would like to thank the public for that. And other than that, we're just continuing to move forward with our grant process with the Healthcare Foundation and doing our annual paperwork that we need to get done and turned into the Federal Traffic Commission, so.
Questions? Mark Schreiber, Park Department.
Morning. I want to remind the community that our youth sports registrations are still ongoing. As we found out over the last couple days, spring will pop up before we know it. The deadline is March 4th, and we have registrations going on right now for boys baseball, and that's ages 7 all the way through 15. Girls softball, which we have slow pitch and fast pitch, so you can choose your option. Again, 7 all the way through 17. And again, the deadline on those programs is March 4th. We also are doing tennis and t-ball with later deadline registration deadlines. But again, really love to see us get a full program this year. We came back very well last year, post-pandemic, had great numbers, and we'd love to be able to keep that going. A strong recreational program is very important in the idea that it allows all the kids to play, and you know, we've seen a big trend going to pay-to-play travel sports. We want to include all the kids, and so we need a strong sign-up. So please get your kids in. You can do that at laporteparkandrec.com, or you can do it at the office, or you can call 326-9600.
So I'm going to throw one question out there.
Sure.
You talk about travel, you talk that, you know, in LaPorte's heyday, they were successful, I think, from the base ground. Everybody played in LaPorte. Everybody played, and they played longer seasons. They got better. We saw kids that were 8, 9, and 10 that maybe had a lot of work to do, and by the time they were juniors, seniors, were receiving college scholarship opportunities. I know that's probably not the wave, but any way to turn that around, and we look at LaPorte baseball and the expectations, it just seems like we need to maybe do something different if we want to get that level back.
Sure. You know, I mean, we've got an outstanding program. Coach Up is a tremendous coach. He's in the Hall of Fame for Indiana. We got great facilities. Realistically, we'd really like to see that trend go back to as many kids playing as possible, and that goes back to baseball and softball are late developmental sports. There's no reason for a 9 or 10-year-old to be playing exclusively in travel ball or anything like that. We need as many kids playing. We need to develop our talent, all of our talent, and allow all the kids to have access to play the game. And we do that by having a strong recreational program. Parents have kind of bought into the kind of what I would call a lie that you have to play travel and you have to start them real young and go like that. Realistically, you don't need to do travel till you're age 13, 14, 15 because, again, baseball is a late developmental sport. You cannot identify the talent at a young age like maybe they do with Olympic gymnasts or something. So, again, I would just encourage parents to always do their homework, think it through. Obviously, these are always family decisions. Do what you think is right for your family, but just consider making it a strong community program because then you have a well-developed talent base going up rather than just picking a small group to develop because that doesn't always pan out very well. Just an opinion.
Further discussion?
Wouldn't that also play into is there a plan or an idea to have like batting cages and more going on at Kessling Park for?
So we've started a site plan right now that we're working with a group to try and decide, you know, do we want to add a couple more diamonds out there? We're talking about adding a hitting facility out there, all with the goal of, again, giving more access to more kids. That's our end game. Our goal every year is to have as many kids playing as possible. Our goal is for the baseball and softball coach and the tennis coach eventually they make the decisions on who should be playing at the high school level. We want as many kids playing now and developing their skills because, again, these are also lifetime skills, especially when you talk about tennis and golf, other things that we offer. Get as many kids playing as many sports as possible because it's only going to be better for the health and wellness of our community in the long term. And all of the positives that come from playing sports, the character development, the sportsmanship, the respect, all those things that should be part of any youth sports program. You only get those by getting into a youth sports program, right? So we want as many kids playing as possible.
Thank you.
All right.
Jess Bruder, Communications.
Good morning. Not much to report this morning. I just wanted to let the board know I am working with Think Tank to make improvements to the way we store agendas and minutes. The process that was kind of put in place when the website was created isn't really working out right now, so we're trying to find a solution for that. And then on a more fun note, we do have the Shamrock Shindig coming up March 19th, so if you're looking for plans, St. Patrick's Day weekend, we will have that at the Civic. There will be live Irish folk music, St. Patty's inspired food menus from local vendors, and then green beer, of course. So just mark your calendars for March 19th. That's all I have.
Andy Snyder, Fire.
Just a couple things, just to report to the board. Zach Caney was elected to a 4-year term on the pension board last week. And also, we have put applications out on the city's website, on the department's website, and we'll have those available at Station 1 to formulate our hiring list for the next 2 years. Those applications, there's a little glitch. They are due back April 8th. I think the original information that went out had a March date, but April 8th is when those applications will be due back, with the test, the mental aptitude test, on April 16th. So we're hoping for a large pool to submit to formulate that list this year.
Chief Breton?
Well, in addition to the 4 this morning, we have 2 other officers going through the backgrounds and physicals right now. So hopefully by the end of March, we'll be swearing in 2 more. That time we should be full staff. And then the ERT is coming, I believe, next meeting will be presented by the assistant chief. And that's all we have.
Mr. Batchelor, Street Department Code Enforcement.
Code enforcement, we're just under 500 violations so far for the year. And then street department, we're out plugging the potholes to get all the potholes so we can be pothole free for LaPorte. It's a battle right now because of the weather and everything, but we're still out there trying to do it.
And these are all new potholes that are developing because of the weather, the expansion, contraction. It's not as if they've been ignored, and we need to remind the public about that.
No, and I'll give you an example. Back over on Boyd Boulevard, we filled all in front of Ohio Street, in front of Ohio Street, and that was in October. And then last week I drove down it, and everything we filled is all out of it already, just because of the weather expanding, and it just pops out from the driving on it and stuff. So we got to go back and refill all those holes again. So,
if people want to contact you, because we've had a lot of interest, and it's great to see the pride coming back from residents contacting code enforcement to say, hey, the person across the street isn't taking care of this, that, or the other. What numbers do they call for code enforcement? And then, or what's the best way? Is it to go on the website for that, or potholes?
Whatever anybody feels comfortable doing, the website's fine. I got I get the submits to me. Also, I got Sunday night at 9 o'clock, somebody sent me a request about a pothole on Park Street. I think the person mentioned it last night at the council meeting. But Monday we were out there and we fixed it, and it was a pretty big pothole that just came out of nowhere. I mean, it was huge. So, I mean, you can call me on my cell phone, 219-775-3610.
Sorry, I mistakenly gave that out last night.
I know, I heard you. But it's easier to get in touch with me there because I'm hardly in the office. I'm out and about, so it just makes it easier. Or use the website to file the request.
So file the request on the website. As well, I just want to share, as a part of code enforcement, we get calls about profanity with presidential flags. And we had a situation where we had the door slammed in our face yesterday. We don't have authority to stop somebody from putting profanity up as a part of their frustration with either side politically. We do knock on doors. We do share information with the owners when we receive calls. I'm shocked at the behavior of people, of certain individuals like yesterday, when we're just there to tell them, hey, you're across the street from a school, an elementary school, show some consideration. We've had complaints, and then to get a follow-up message from the individual is just amazing. Show some respect. You can have your distaste, displeasure with whoever's in office, but let's remember what our community looks like with the profanity on the flag and with kids walking to school. And if you got a problem, call me on my cell or meet with you. Don't slam the door in our face. And just try to show some respect outside yourself for everybody else in the community. Nick Otis, attorney, legal.
Nothing.
Nick Minnick, or clerk treasurer, anything new? Nick Minnick, engineering.
I do have one item. I sent a brief description in an email. We do have a contractor, CBS Electric. We've had some concerns about their employees and using potentially contract employees and not properly classified employees. They're a subcontractor at the Banks project. We did issue a stop work order on February 1st to work out these issues with Flaherty and Collins. Flaherty and Collins has provided absolutely everything necessary, worked very hard to make sure all their contractors are up to date, and all the T's are crossed, I's are dotted. There's one contractor that has not provided us any information, and that's CBS Electric. Per ordinance, or section 10-47 of the municipal code, I, as the engineer, can request payroll information to verify whether their employees are properly classified and working for them, or if they're using an unregistered subcontractor, which seems to be the case. We were told on site that they were their employees. We're not getting any additional information. I'm allowed to request that information and give them 5 business days. I made that request last Wednesday, so technically Monday wouldn't have been a business day, so they have until noon tomorrow. But I would like to request the board to, per the same code, revoke their registration if they don't provide that information to the engineering department by noon tomorrow.
This has been going on long enough. We love the development that we're seeing in front of our eyes, but there's an expectation that we have in the city of LaPorte. So if I can just take a minute and substitute department head or stop for a minute, and can I have a motion to revoke that
Registration.
registration?
And it would be, per our ordinance, it would be for a period of 3 years, up to 3 years.
As of 12:01 tomorrow?
As of 12:36 tomorrow.
12:36 tomorrow, Attorney Otis?
And just,
comfortable with this?
Mr. Minnick and I talked on this, so just so we're clear, the subcontractor, CBS, correct?
Correct, yeah.
They used people from a sub below them that was not registered with the city.
Correct.
When you asked for information, they originally said, oh, they actually worked for us. You asked for the payroll records, which you're allowed to do, and they've not at this time provided that.
We verbally asked at the site on the 1st when we issued the stop work order, just after we finally reviewed, made sure that we were doing everything per our ordinances. We needed to do that in writing, and that's why we did that in writing. So this actually started on February 1st. We formally issued that in writing, requesting those records last Wednesday. And again, I mean, this is an issue where we do have a great contractor out there. Flaherty Collins is doing a wonderful job, but they have a subcontractor that was signing people in under their, so they're required to do a daily safety briefing, signing them in as their employees. They're not their employees. They're coming in trucks with a different construction
Well, we
company's
suspect
name.
they're not their employees. We've asked for that
suspect,
information,
yeah.
they're not providing it.
Do I
So,
have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second discussion.
So basically 3 weeks from the written,
No,
From the verbal,
from the verbal.
5 days from the written.
from 5 days from the
business
written.
days.
Yeah, there's no number of days from a verbal. We've asked several times, had several meetings, and they just have yet to provide anything. So we wanted to make sure we, had it in writing and made the proper requests, and we've done that at this
And
point.
the 5 days, that's plenty of notice, right? And
That's
then no
per our
response,
ordinance.
okay,
I guess my question then, Mr. Minnick, if they provide this information at some point after the deadline, can they get their license back? How does that work?
I think we would.
They have to have 3 years.
It would be 3 years if the board decides that. There is a provision for them to go to the board and ask for something else, but that's only if I revoke it through the application process. So
Do I have a motion? Do I have a motion yet?
Yes.
And I would like to hold that to 3 years as a part of this. So further discussion?
Well, I would make sure that's part of the motion then.
Okay.
Nick stated that when he was talking
Okay, all
originally.
right, as long as it's part of it.
Yep.
So it is clear as a part of the ordinance, 3 years. Again, we have standards, we're not gonna beg of the expectation here, so. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Craig Phillips, Planning.
Anything else?
Unless we
That's
want to
enough.
ask Nick about his.
That's enough for today. That's enough for today.
Okay. So along with the work that we just completed with Ymca, so now that that is complete, I'm going to be focusing on putting a public offering together for the 18th Street property that the city owns just to the west of A Street. And I'll be talking about a request on the agenda later for that. That's in regard to that. Also, we'll be continuing to work on the housing development opportunity at Beechwood Lakes. And kind of piggybacking off some other conversation earlier, I'm going to be asking for approval from the Redevelopment Commission today, along with the Business Improvement District Board as a partner, to do a parking study for the downtown that would take a look at capacity, opportunities for additional parking within the downtown area, as well as revisit the management plan for how we handle parking in the downtown area, and hopefully address some of these concerns and issues that we have with enforcement and parking zones and times and all that sort of thing as well. So a lot
That
going on
also
there.
include the potential closure of Monroe Street on the north side of Lincoln Way?
Potentially.
We'll end it there.
Looking at alternatives.
We're also in the process of developing the plans for the first block north of Lincoln Way, which we intend to, we hope to deliver at least beginning construction on that before the end of the year. So we're working very diligently and also requesting acceptance of the contract with our consultants to get that work underway at tonight's Redevelopment Commission meeting, so.
Jerry Jackson, wastewater.
I wanted to give the treatment plant crew kudos. They isolated and did a confined space entry to repair a 30-inch valve that was frozen. It was an old valve that had stuck. We've also have assistance from MC Welding, a local machine shop, to do the repair. And they just did a nice job safely, a tough job that we avoided hiring a contractor to do because they showed the skills to do it in-house. Also wanted to mention that Ashton Jackson was a 2-time state champion this weekend, so that's a big
First
deal.
time in LaPorte history?
First time in LaPorte history, yes.
Amazing.
Andy beat my consecutive win record, which, you know,
You don't
Does
have
he
any
have
years of eligibility
twice
left,
as
right?
many state championships as you, Jerry?
What's that?
Does he have twice as many state championships?
He has twice as he does, yes. That too.
Okay, department heads that do not have business in front of Board of Works, have a great day, make a difference.
Mayor, I did think of something else. I apologize.
Nick Minnick?
I just wanted to mention it is National Engineers Week. So think of Jerry.
See how we treat you and put you in a cast.
Just wanted to mention that it's a big deal for our profession, so.
Oh, congratulations, and we acknowledge all the great engineers across not only our community, but state and nation, so things couldn't get done. These might take forever to get done, but they'd get done. I'm saying both, all of the engineers.
Aren't we diligent?
You're mostly talking about other types of
Other types, of course. All right. I know Member Romine actually has a job other than being here, so we want to make sure we get through the important parts while we have her. Uniform Conflict of Interest Disclosure Statement, Tim Frankie. Is that Mr. Otis?
Yeah, just asking for acceptance. Mr. Frankie updated the conflict of interest disclosure, and after the approval, this gets filed electronically, correct, Courtney?
Yeah, it's recorded and then uploaded on the state's gateway website.
Mr. Frankie's doing it appropriately, the update, I think, based off of a new contract. I don't know that it's new work, it's just an updated contract between Duneland Media and the city.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I probably should.
I have a second. Member Romine should
I'm not
abstain.
sure why I came today.
Discussion, and just so they know, Tim Frankie from Duneland Media is also city council person, so we're being proactive. If anybody has questions, they're welcome to view the disclosure statement in the clerk's office. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 2-0. Member Romine abstains. Jen Knoll, IPEP, grant acceptance as well. I would like to say Jen Knoll is leaving us as our Human Resources Director, and she has done a fantastic job for the city of LaPorte, been very detailed, and has a lot on her plate, is also IT Director, which hopefully we can address at some point. But we want to wish her the best. It will be a loss, but we wish you well as you go into the private sector.
Thank you very much. I will miss the city team, that's for sure. So on the agenda, I wanted to introduce general insurance to present the water department with an IPEP grant. IPEP is the Indiana Public Employers Plan. They're a workers' comp carrier, and our water department was a recipient of a grant that Jordan Snyder wrote for. So I'd like to introduce Kathy Henrich to just kind of go over those details.
Good morning, everybody. So as Jen said, I'm representing General Insurance today, but more importantly, IPEP, the city's work comp carrier. So every year, IPEP, they focus on municipality insurance. In a forms of giving back to the communities that they represent, they offer safety grants to be applied for by their members. The safety grants can be applied in two ways. You can apply for safety training, or you can apply for safety equipment. This year, I was very happy to see that we had 2 department heads for the city of LaPorte apply. And again, the grant was awarded to the water department and Jordan Snyder. So Jordan very diligently did all of the grant requirements, filled out the application. She basically requested about $6,100 to obtain a 25 lamp solar aero board trailer, and also for 40 reflective cones. How the requirements of the grant state that IPEP reimburses 80% of these funds, and then the city of LaPorte is responsible for the remaining 20. So I am very pleased to present a check in the amount of $4,876 to the city of LaPorte and the water department. I wanted to read just a couple sentences that Jordan put on her application, which proves like she's thinking proactively on the city of LaPorte. She stated the LaPorte's goal to reach 30,000 people living in the city by 2030. We are constantly focused on growing and expanding our city. Some of the current less used roads are inevitably going to become busier, and the main roads and highways even busier than that. Having an arrowhead strictly dedicated to the water department would help to ensure that our crew members and their work zone are more visible in those high traffic areas within the city. So again, very nicely put, Jordan.
Kathy, thank you for your support. And I'll tell you what, we're fortunate to have quality young people as a part of our team like Jordan Snyder. Jordan, tell us a little bit about this and what made you do it, and we love that you're being proactive.
Thank you. So we always look at our water department as family, and one of the biggest things is we want to make sure everyone comes home at night. So I thought, I asked him, what's something that the guys can use that is going to make sure they come home at night? He said, if we could get another aero board or cones, it's going to increase visibility for those high traffic areas to ensure everyone's safe.
Well, thank you for being proactive. Great.
Great job.
With time, I think it's important that Member Romine here, so I'm going to hop around a little bit. I'd like to move to the lease proposal with Chief Breton. With Jess's financial mind, I think it's good to have her as a part of it, and hopefully take Chief Breton through the rigmarole a little bit. So Chief Breton.
It's pretty straightforward lease agreement. Getting rid of 7 of our oldest cars. getting into a 3-year lease program. This is something that Michigan City is doing currently. They just got into the program. I know you don't like to mention it, but Valparaiso's done it for probably 15 years. After replacing motors and things like that, everybody thinks I have 2014 cars. I think there's a 13 in there and some high mileage 15s. We recently had to put a motor in one that's almost $5,000. It'd be keeping these cars while they're under warranty and then replacing them from there. And the first year of the lease, a little bit more than the first year is paid for by the trade-ins.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Did we do something like this already, or was that for park vehicles?
We did do
Or
park
was
vehicles.
for trade-in for leases? Yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that must be what it was.
So do you base the vehicles on years of service, or when does a police vehicle become obsolete, or, you know, you have to trade it in?
They really start giving us fits around 100,000 miles. Some are before that. It's kind of hard to judge. You know, these things are, I call them war dogs. They're out there in all the weather. They're the ones running out there. Yeah, a lot of this time, mileage doesn't really count. There's a lot of idle time, especially in the city. Cars running this time of year in the snow to keep the lights activated and that. So there are hour meters on a lot of the newer cars that we can track by that, but that's the worst of the worst there. There's a few of them in there. The other 15s we'll use as pool cars. One I'm going to use as a canine backup car, so when the canine cars goes down, we can still have the dog on duty. Where now the canine handlers are leaving the dogs at home because they don't have another vehicle to haul the canine in.
Chief, is the advantage that kind of keeping more operable cars on the road in good condition, or is there also a cost savings here, or?
Well, if you look at what we spend in maintenance, that's what I'm looking at cutting out. Because only thing we're gonna have is oil changes and maybe tires.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everything else would be covered under warranty. And you never know. We have a 2021 right now that's been in the shop 6 weeks waiting for parts for the transmission because of the shortages. Well, that happens, you know, on the older cars, that's going out more and more often. This was a fluke thing, but it's under warranty, so this will cost us nothing.
Yeah, we will remember that at budget time.
Yeah, but this is gonna happen more often. When we get rid of older cars, we'll turn them into leases and continue on a lease
Right.
program for.
That's the idea, to get those maintenance costs down
When will we take possession of these 5 or 7 new cars?
now.
Oh,
Clerk Treasurer Parthun, anything to add? You're comfortable with this?
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean, as long as we are able to, at budget time, look at that repairs and maintenance appropriation, you know, future date, just to make sure that we're not, it all offsets, you know what I mean, so.
And
but
we
it
are.
does actually break even or get close to that. The benefit outweighs the cost.
Pretty much. I mean, it's hard to predict how a car's gonna, you know, we have some that that last a lot longer. A lot of it is users as well, you know. But we are using the equipment from the other cars. We're gonna buy very little equipment on these. We're reusing the light bars. We can get 10 years out of those easily. So that we'll put those on these lease cars, and then we won't have to replace those for 3 years. Probably when we look at new leases, we'd look at new light bars and that.
So I do have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. And I'd like to say, in addition to this, I mean, their costs to doing business is public safety. Chief Snyder has equipment that he thinks I'm ignoring, but is in need. We have to pay competitive wages for police and fire. I can't imagine why anybody would not at the council level in communities not support the public safety lit that 71 of 92 counties have passed. Michigan City's the only one left. We've had 10 communities support it unanimously. And I've been told directly, chiefs have been told, 5 people that are going to vote in support of a public safety lit increase, or a public safety lit, I should say, once it gets back on their table. So Republicans, Democrats alike are going to vote in support of 5 of them. We still need Michigan City to pass, but this is for the future. This is long-term for the safety of our community, and we're there. And why the county would argue, debate this is amazing, but it's time to do it, and now is that time, so.
May I have permission to sign the leases when we actually get the lease documents too? Can that be part of the motion?
Yes. So we need to amend, because we just voted for it. Do we need to amend the motion, Attorney Otis?
Yes.
So do I have a motion, amended motion to sign the leases at the time of,
When we obtain the leases.
when we obtain the leases?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Andy Snyder, retirement letter and authorized replacement.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have forwarded a retirement letter from Rob Saby, Battalion Chief Rob Saby, to the board. Rob has just fallen short of 36 years on the department, and he has decided to retire, but not give it up yet because he has taken another position with the county EMA as the assistant director. So the nice thing for us is we'll still be able to work with him and use his experience just at a different level. So I would ask that the board accept that letter of retirement and also allow the Merit Commission to make the necessary promotions as well as authorize hiring someone to replace him.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, discussion. Rob Saby has been a true value to our community, and as much as we hate to lose him, we're excited that he'll be part of the EMA team at the
Definitely.
county. I think that's good for the residents, good for our community.
Most definitely.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Jerry Jackson, Monroe Manor Construction Services.
I'd request the board increase the amount of the contract for inspection services from $67,000 to $105,000. That's a $37,500 increase. Marsh originally proposed to do full-time inspection last year for this job for Monroe Manor. We tried to use some engineering personnel to fill in, and it didn't work as well as I'd like. The engineering department's very busy. They had other jobs, couldn't get out there when needed. And then because we were splitting inspection between 2 different people, there wasn't, the communication between the inspectors wasn't always good, so there'd be a homeowner that would complain and it wouldn't get handled properly and quickly. So I'd request that we do full-time inspection through Marsh. They have a very good inspector in J.D. McPhail. He's done a phenomenal job on it. Having him there is also part of the reason we've had very minimal change orders on the job. We switched from from one-way cleanouts to 2 ways to help out the homeowners so they could rod their sewers toward the house and then out toward the city both directions. That's kind of a minimal change. And then we found an additional water main that wasn't on the plans. There were 2 water mains on one road. So that was, something that couldn't be envisioned. But those were in a $3.4 million project. We've had minimal change orders, so I'm pretty confident that the increase would be handled in contingency for the project, wouldn't increase the overall project budget.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Jerry. I'm going to move right now because we do have limited time with Member Romine. I'd like to move, sorry about jumping around, payment for north-south corridor MOU invoice. Nick Minnick, I'd like to go direct to that.
Sure, yes. We have a memorandum of understanding for the city to participate in. Some additional funds came available, I think, last federal fiscal year or state fiscal year. So we had agreed to pay for that. This is for kind of the first 30% design phase of the project. We've asked for some changes, so I think they may be starting to kind of tap into this money now. We want to verify that. We want to work with Courtney and make sure that we have the backup material necessary and we have everything budgeted. And I would request that the board give clerk treasurer the authority to pay this amount when we verify that we have the appropriate backup material and we're comfortable with actually moving forward with it.
So before we do a motion, we've talked about this corridor for 20 years. 2 county commissioners this weekend said they are now not in support of the corridor. After one has told some people, wherever that person is, he tells if he's with the 4 corridor people, he says yes. If he's with the anti-people, he says no. Why are we gonna pay anything if they're basically opposed to the corridor?
Honestly, we're a little bit stuck with the county on this really key project. It was their project to start. They
led this project.
They initiated the traffic study that led to this portion of the project, which is the NEPA documentation and figuring out the right corridor. Since then, the city has contributed through an MOU to try and make sure the public was well informed. So we actually contributed to bring on a kind of a media relations firm to assist and get more information out there. That's where the website came from, different things like that. And then, knowing that we wanted to keep this project moving forward, we've also been able to move some other fiscal or federal money into the project, and it'd be to our benefit to keep it moving forward. But at the same time, it seems like when this much time passes, the county does start to waver on projects that they had originally committed to. So
if I can get clear, we believe in this project. We know it needs to happen. But we're gonna pay $66,000. So they're spending taxpayer money on a project to follow through that 2 of the leaders of the county have said they oppose.
Well,
So they're wasting taxpayer money in a sense.
they are, well, I guess the risk is 2 things. We see the value in this project, and the work being done is going to assist. And even if the city, we have a separate DES number and a separate program coming up with NERPC to fund design and hopefully right-of-way once we can find the funds from the city perspective, where the city is the lead agency on a local project. We're not there yet, but the work they're doing helps us get there, even if they are not, even if they're not taking it to the finish line. It's necessary to get there. I think the other really important thing to remember is generally with these agreements, they've agreed with NDOT to move this project forward, and if they choose to not move the project forward, they have to repay the total amount. So I think the county would
So we can take the lead on this project, which I love the idea, and federally, there's money coming out left and right, and whether you agree with that or not, there is new infrastructure money coming out that we believe the city of LaPorte deserves to compete with that. So it's not as if when people say, well, why don't you use it to fix the roads that you need to fix now? You can't do that. But this is new infrastructure money.
Yeah, we have, as a county, in my lifetime and probably longer, the reality is we just hope that NDOT keeps adding capacity to the state highways, and that doesn't work for the city of LaPorte anymore. It didn't work for Michigan City. That's why they went through a relinquishment process. It really doesn't work for communities to just keep adding capacity to state highways. We need to look at our transportation network as a whole network, and that means, the city has projects on the board that we're working towards to help our entire transportation network. And this corridor project is a county-led. Hopefully, if the county chooses to not continue, the city still needs to lead in making sure that our transportation network in LaPorte County serves all residents. And this corridor, I think, has been seen as this big bad thing, but the reality is we're looking at a transportation network that has some pinch points that are going to create failures in the system. And if we don't look at alternatives, I can't remember the last time. I remember one county road that was built in the last decade. I mean, the reality is the county isn't building new infrastructure, even if our capacity needs have changed. There are more trucks on the road. There's more people on there. There's more vehicles, more people traveling further. But we're not adding capacity to any of our county highways or we have on some city streets, but I mean, we're not seeing the county doing that. So as a city, we need to make sure that our needs are met. We're doing everything we can, and we hope that we can continue to move forward with this really key project that helps fill a gap where we have one north-south route coming into the city. All truck traffic essentially has to take that north-south route, and this project alleviates that need to only have one corridor that you can enter the city through on the north-south side. So
I want you to know we are prepared to take the lead for the future. This has been discussed for 20 years. Elkhart County, St. Joe County, all are looking at corridors. We don't have to be that county that says no. We've seen what happens with the lottery or with the gaming casino. We've seen what happens out at Beechwood in the past when they turned down Dr. Kessling's offer. We do not have to say no, and we are prepared to lead for the future. So those dollars, we can compete and we should compete. And one clarification, on the latest model that you've done on a corridor, how many homes does it take out?
Well, we're updating our traffic model right now, and we're updating it with a couple of alignments that are kind of a variation of the preferred one that came out, I think, end of last year, middle of last year. And the alignments that we're proposing don't require to take any homes. So there's at least a couple scenarios
Say
where
it one more time.
there are alignments that serve the need that don't take out homes. We need to verify. Some of those alignments tie in at different points, so we need to verify that we do see the traffic reductions. But even if we see a slightly less amount of traffic reduction, we're also going to see a significantly lower cost, and we're going to see other benefits. So all of those benefits get weighed in and factored in order to come up with that right corridor for the whole community. We're not just looking at what's ideal for downtown LaPorte. We know it's ideal for downtown LaPorte. We're looking for a project that's right for the whole community, that allows the city to grow but also protects the character of LaPorte County. So we understand the concerns people have, and we want to mitigate as much as we can to provide that the transportation network the people of LaPorte County deserve and the people of the city of LaPorte deserve. So we're going to keep pushing forward, hopefully to make that happen.
Great. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
So just to be, that the second does number, right, where it's like we're the lead. If we pay this, then you're saying basically this money on the 66,000 would be a benefit to that.
Correct.
It benefits either way it goes, right?
Correct. If either way, this is helping move the project forward.
Okay.
In getting us to an approved NEPA document and possibly beyond the approved NEPA document to about some additional survey and 30% design on the first phase of the project.
Okay, so that's, Mr. Otis, like that totally, like, we're fine there legally, okay.
Yep.
Because, it's troubling, the parties agree to devote their best efforts to gain full commitment and funding for the development of the project, and there's a signature. So, that is troubling, right, to just kind of go back and forth on it. So it's difficult to run anything with that kind of waffling back and forth.
And I just
Find
to
bothersome.
debunk some myths out there, we talk about not taking houses.
Hold the mic close so make sure that,
We talk about not taking houses, and then there's this myth that we're cutting farms in half and doing things like that. One of the corridors has some areas where a farm would be split. What we're looking at trying to adjust means we're not doing that. The majority of this corridor is adjacent or within existing roadway alignments, or along a section line, which is also a property line between owners. So there's not a lot of common property ownership on either side of the section line. So we're not splitting things. We're looking at what is the best way we can minimize impacts. And I think there's a lot of people out there that assume we're just doing whatever we want to ruin everybody's lives, and that's not the case. We are looking at the specific details to try and minimize impacts every chance we get.
Sure, yeah, I mean, there's very few projects where there's not some negative impact for someone, and it's just finding that balance, right, of overall, for the good of the community, right?
There's negative impacts now.
Well, that's
North
very
of
true.
north of Weller and Truesdale, until we installed the Hawk signal, we didn't have a pedestrian crossing in the city of LaPorte. So you could not cross Pine Lake Ave safely north of Weller and Truesdale in the city of LaPorte until we installed that Hawk as part of our Chessie project. So when you think about how highways split communities, I mean, we are a community that residents on one side of Pine Lake Ave cannot safely access our parks and schools and everything on the other side of Pine Lake Ave. It's not acceptable to me, and I know that we can work with hopefully the county and the state and others to make sure that our community is well-connected, well-served from a transportation standpoint.
Nick, the traffic studies, how much would it reduce traffic potentially on Lincoln Way in Indiana downtown?
So that's the number we're trying to get to. Okay. So we know that the current alignment, which does split one farm and takes a few houses, which is what we're trying to avoid, we know that significantly reduces the traffic in the future on Lincoln Way and on Pine Lake Ave.
but you're working on an alternative route to potentially address that.
Exactly. So we have an alternative, and we want to look at the numbers and verify, what the total benefit of the alternative is.
Further discussion?
I'm just curious why we're voting on this when this has already been signed that we would pay this money. This is dated May 20th this is May of 2020, so why are we?
We just received the invoice for it.
Oh, but did we not at this time, if it was signed already,
Well,
agree to that? Or
with the opposition by the leadership in the county, I wasn't sure if we still need to pay this, because it does say, agree to devote their best efforts to gain full commitment and funding for the development of the project. And
Correct.
If they're not doing that, do we have to pay it?
But the short of it is that it benefits us regardless.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And we just received the invoice. I think it originally sent January 19th, but Courtney and I have kind of been coordinating with the county to figure out, we receive an invoice and we committed to pay, but we don't have all the backup or anything like that. So I would, want to make sure that Courtney's comfortable with everything too.
And this will come out of major moves.
Yes.
All in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Member Romine, for your time today.
Thank you.
Nick Minnick, Civic Phase 2 improvements.
I have a development, or an amendment to the development agreement. This is very similar to the one we did for the roof and lighting. Some of the Phase 2 projects are the auditorium seating, HVAC, and then essentially the HVAC. And so those items are what this is for. There's no cost to us up front. We have an agreement with Schneider. They will move forward with design once we sign this. If we choose not to do the project, we would pay for the design they completed. But as long as we continue, which I think every intention is to continue to provide HVAC upgrades, including air conditioning at the Civic, we would not pay for for any of that. That would be rolled into the actual construction cost of the project.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I will second that. Discussion?
Just having sat in those seats quite a bit, you can tell they're from 1929 or 1930, right?
Make sure Mr. Frankie's paying attention.
Just tuned in. I strongly oppose the city.
All right, further discussion.
Go ahead, ruin history.
We'll let you buy one and
I was
keep
just gonna
history at
say,
your
I think
house
it'd
every
be
day.
fantastic to, to somehow save the seats in some way, for sure.
You can sit
Maybe
one
not
in-
the, maybe not the roof, right?
You
in
can
the
sit
air
in the
conditioning
living
field,
room
yeah.
every night. All those in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion passes 2-0. Purchase of property at Atwood and Marshall.
So we had moved forward with condemnation for the final 2 parcels for the Chessie Trail project. Right before we went to court, we were able to come to an agreement with both property owners, Atwood and Marshall. The agreement for Atwood would be purchase of .192 acres at a price of $29,200. The comps for this are essentially, looking at other commercial properties that were purchased recently in the city of LaPorte. So our appraisals had looked at some things differently, and our original offer was significantly lower. What they believed the value was significantly higher, and I think we've come to kind of middle ground on these numbers. And then the second one is the Marshall property, which is .23 acres at a cost of $35,000. Both of these, 80% is reimbursable by the state through from the Chessie project. So we are only paying 20% of that.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Or we get reimbursed for 80% of that. Sorry, we pay up front and then.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second that. Discussion?
Is it 35,000 for both parcels or just?
35 for the Marshall project and property, and 29,200 for the Atwood property.
And are there homes on it? Is that?
No.
That
No.
seems awfully high.
So they're both commercial properties, so the value is associated with the overall property.
Okay.
So the first one is right there across from Starbucks.
Oh, okay.
The car lot, correct?
Yeah, when you look at the sale of, if say the Spores where 7-Eleven is, if you look at that as a comparable, these numbers are actually fairly low.
Okay.
But
Location.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we are looking at a pretty good location on these, and I think the key is we have enough justification to be comfortable with these numbers. We have to be able to justify it, otherwise we won't be able to use the dollars we have. These 2 come with agreements that Mr. Novak's put together, so I would ask that the mayor be able to sign those. I think they came through last night, and hopefully we can get them all wrapped up today.
I amend my motion to include that.
And I will second that. And again, the cost of going through court, this is, I think reasonable.
Yeah, it can get very expensive, because potentially, in addition to paying, the city's legal fees, there's a provision that you could be paying the other party's legal fees, additional appraisal fees. So yeah, it can get pricey. And this is a big, I think the hope is that, we don't have to continue to pay such high prices for this, but this is a big project for the city. And in the scheme of things, 10 years from now, I don't know that a lot of people will bat an eye at the difference between, 20 grand and 35 grand for something like this.
The value, though, as Nick said, compared to Pine Lake there, this is more than reasonable.
Sure, yeah.
I think people don't realize the Chessie Trail, we looked at some different alignments. This is the alignment that we are kind of required to use per our original agreement with NERPC. But with the hospital moving, with the redevelopment of the existing hospital site, you are, less than a quarter mile on a comfortable trail from Starbucks and any other new development we have in Newport Landing. People don't necessarily see it because you have to go over the overpass or, whatever, but this is a very direct access from downtown and some really key areas in our downtown to our Newport Landing development area. So I think it's a tremendous project, and we want to make sure we can keep it moving forward. I think it's if we weren't able to secure these parcels now, I think it's a little bit at risk to be able to keep the project moving forward. So I think we all gave a little bit, but came to a reasonable agreement.
All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 2-0. Request to rebid and set special Board of Works meeting.
So a little bit of this is a retroactive request, but after reviewing the bid for our 2022 Community Crossing Street Paving Program, I looked at some opportunities and worked with Jeff Batchelor to do some things we had done in the past as far as our street department hauling millings and some other things to reduce the overall cost of the project. It also opens up our street department to be able to use more of our MVH restricted funds because they're doing work directly associated with a road project. So it's a little bit of a win for the street department in that they're able to use some restricted funds, which frees up potentially non-restricted funds if we get snowstorm or something like that. So we don't deplete our LRS and MVH quite as quickly. So essentially, what I need to do is reject the previous bid and allow me to rebid. We've already started that process. And then the second thing is we will open bids on Friday at 9 o'clock, and I will really need the board to then reconvene sometime that day. I think it could even be via Zoom in order to award that so we can keep on NDOT schedule.
So would we need to meet then at, say, at 9 o'clock for the opening of the bids?
It's a public bid opening. You do not have
okay.
to meet at that point.
So could I set a meeting for, how does 2 o'clock Friday work?
it's good.
Worst case via Zoom.
Yeah, I can do 2.
Can we do all of this in one motion?
Yes.
So moved. Let's make
I will
it simple,
second
right?
that.
Yeah.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion passes 2-0. Thank you, Nick Minnick.
Thank you.
Beth West. Someone else should be last other than Nick, so, and then Craig.
This will be short and sweet. There are 2 amendments from our federal grant with NERC that need to be signed by the mayor and the clerk treasurer. The reason they were amended was because we use CARES Act funds versus the grant money that we received from the feds. So NERC had to redo all our paperwork, so they need additional signatures from the mayor and the clerk treasurer.
It's also extending
The dates. The dates, yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I will second that. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion passes 2-0. Thank you.
Thanks. Courtney, are you gonna get those to NERC, or do you want me, okay. Thank you.
Craig Phillips, rezoning application for 18th Street.
Thanks, Mayor. So previously, the city and the school district initiated a swap of properties, I guess, as part of the process for locating the bus barn. The schools turned over property where the Torino Basin sits, as well as the property along 18th Street in front of that. So this is just to the west of A Street. So along that frontage, there's about 4.8 acres of property that we intend to redevelop for housing, or to develop for housing, sorry, it's green space. As part of that, there was previous work done by a housing consultant to put together what we call the pitch kit that kind of gave a vision for what we wanted to see on that property. And what we were looking for on that property was the ability to develop it as either single-family or two-family or townhouse development that would be most likely served from an access standpoint by alleys. And so this being located directly across the street from Regency, the two-family development at Regency, it's necessary for us to request what we call a zone map change or a rezoning of the property to basically continue that vision. And it's the first step in the process that I need to go through to be able to offer this property up for public offering, to make it attractive enough for developers to be interested in doing that project. And in order to do that, I signed the application on behalf of the city to meet the deadline for submitting the application, as well as the notification to the public and notification to the newspapers of our intent to rezone that property. And what I'm requesting today is just to ratify that I signed that document on behalf of the city from the Board of Works.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Otis, so any association with the school corporation is over, right? Because it's now
Yeah,
city
this is our
property, so I'm fine with,
property.
okay.
You can vote, yep.
Okay.
Yep, this
So
is
moved,
ours
yeah.
free and clear.
So moved.
I'll second that. Discussion?
Craig, can you explain what the current zoning is and what it?
I'm sorry, yeah. So the current zoning is R1B, single family, and we're requesting to rezone this to R2A townhouse zoning.
Is this the entire parcel there on A and 18th, or
It's there's several parcels in an L
Right.
shape that the city acquired from the schools. These are just the two parcels that are the northernmost that are right along 18th Street. It doesn't involve the Torino Basin property further to the south. The two parcels that make up the Torino Basin property further to
So
the south.
these are all
not
parcels
included.
or future development that would face 18th Street, just so they kind of.
Correct.
Got it, okay.
Correct.
With potential row housing.
Right, right, and, yeah. And this density would allow options if a developer wanted to do townhouses, duplexes, or single family. So it gives us options and a little bit of flexibility on the property as well. But it's in keeping with the development that already exists in that area with Regency right across the street, which is actually a higher zoning than this at R3A, I believe.
So I'll second that. I have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
I guess, Mayor, I'd just comment, or have maybe Craig comment, since he's spent time in other communities locally, that you're starting to see more duplex development. And sometimes people have a bad idea of duplex, but I think of what's going on in some other communities, Valpo in particular.
Yeah.
I mean,
Valpo's done a lot of
these
this
might be
recently.
retired individuals that don't want to take care of,
Right.
the yard or something like that,
Right,
right?
there's
Yeah.
some examples of this in Michigan City, Valparaiso, Chesterton. There's actually a lot of examples of this in the region in the last few years.
Or busy young professionals.
Or, yeah.
All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 2-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second that. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 2-0. We are adjourned.